Hi guys, Eric James, and today I'm breaking down two of the most famous cities in the world. That's Medellin, Colombia, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Both of these cities are legendary in their own ways. Both have massive upsides and real downsides too. So today we're going to hit this fast but real. We're going to talk about the safety, beauty of the city, the costs of living, the lifestyle, the language, the dating, the nightlife, and the food. So let's dive right into it. And first, let's talk about the safety. Unfortunately, both of these cities are quite dangerous. There's no sugarcoating that. And in Medellin, the big issue, well, there's a lot of issues, but especially when trying to date, is the druggings, especially with the drug called scopolamine, which they say grows naturally down there in the trees in Colombia. And I know personally, I know people who have been scoped, that's what they call it, multiple times. And I know people who have been even kidnapped and taken on those, what they call the joy rides, where there's not very much joy for the victim, but I guess maybe there's a lot of joy for the criminals doing it. But essentially they ride around town, going to different ATMs and withdrawing, maximizing out your bank accounts. And since they've got you there, they'll face unlock your phone. Now they've got your Venmo. Oh, and you got PayPal too. But in Rio, crime is quite popular too. Violent muggings happen quite often. And one of my friends got mugged in Rio at night point at 7 a.m. as she was going out for her morning run. She thought that was the safest time to go out and go for a run, right? But turns out it wasn't. Druggings can happen in Rio too. And the verdict here is I will say that they are both equal as far as safety. I might give just a 1% edge to Rio. But really, in reality, neither is safe. And with that being said, I've never had a single problem in either country though. If you stay in your lane, no dar papaya, which means don't be flashy, no bling bling, those type of things end up putting a target on your back. So dress modest, and also when dating, if that's your priority, carefully screen your dates and always watch your drinks if you don't know someone. Get a hotel or an Airbnb inside a condo building that has security. These type of things can minimize or lower your risk. Let's talk about the beauty of the cities. And I'll never forget when I first landed in Jose Maria Cordova International Airport in Medellin, Colombia, and the sun was just starting to go down, it was just starting to get dark. And you take that 1 hour taxi ride that kind of goes downhill into the city of Medellin, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And if you've made that taxi ride, you've been in that airport, you know what I'm talking about, especially at nighttime when the lights come on across the valley and just amazingly beautiful. But Rio, flying into Rio will absolutely still your heart. It's hands down one of the two most beautiful cities I've seen in the world so far. I would say the other one being Istanbul, Turkey. But in Rio, it's got the beaches and the mountains, the water. It's got those big green looking rocks. Then you get down to Copacabana Beach and you got Brazilian women running around. It's like almost a postcard perfect almost everywhere you look around in Rio. So the verdict here is I give Rio the edge here, and that is saying a lot because Medellin is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, I think, for sure, but Rio is just kind of at that pinnacle for me. Let's do the cost of living. And Medellin used to be much more of a steal, but kind of the secret got out and got really trendy. And prices have essentially jumped a lot the past few years. And as an example of this is in 2023, I rented this beautiful premium 1-bedroom apartment condo, just a really amazing apartment condo for $1,200 a month. Then just a year later, when I went back in 2024, you can see the inflation hit because that same apartment was going for about $2,000. And my budget was still around $1,200. And this time it barely even got me a studio this time in Envigado, 1 month Airbnb. As for Rio, I didn't stay long enough to fully escape that kind of tourist pricing bubble, but I did a comparison on Numbeo that compared Medellin and Rio as far as cost of living, and they were nearly identical, with Medellin being a little bit cheaper for the food, the restaurants, and the transportation, but with Rio being a little bit cheaper for rent prices, just a little bit. So please drop a comment if you have any insights into the cost of comparisons, cost of living between these two cities. I'd love to hear from you. The verdict, we put that at nearly equal. Lifestyle, vibe, and community. In Medellin, I eventually got into a really good, nice rhythm. But it was a little bit weird because it didn't seem like there was a natural watering hole for expats that I have in a lot of other cities. Some guys will probably argue me that there is one of those. I don't really do the bar thing. But in other cities like Cebu, Bangkok, even Da Nang, Vietnam, and especially in San Jose, Costa Rica, there's these natural, popular kind of hubs where guys just kind of meet and hang out, and you don't need to text anybody, hey, you're going to be there or not. You know, like people just kind of show up and hang out. But in Medellin, and my experience is anecdotal, maybe yours is different, but my friends ended up being way more spread out. It was kind of strange. You know, I had friends in Laureles, some friends in Poblado, a few way down in Envigado, and even some further down in Sabaneta. So very spread out. Now the good news is there is a metro train that runs up and down basically that route, and that provides cheap and sometimes convenient transportation. And I say sometimes because, like, during rush hour, the metro train in Medellin becomes insanely crowded. It's like unusable for me. And in Rio, I based myself in Copacabana beach area, and it did seem to be kind of popping, but I will say that I didn't realize this, but Rio can actually get pretty cold where you'd like definitely need a jacket and jeans. So I was there in the off season, and I didn't really have enough time to fully integrate into the expat community there. So the verdict here, I give the edge to Medellin. And because of geographical distance, I know Medellin is a lot closer to North America, and South America is actually quite a big continent, and Rio is actually quite a ways down there. It's not like these are, you know, right next door to each other. But there was a bigger and better expat community in Medellin, I think, because it's closer, including a huge pickleball community that if you ever get down there, try it out. So I felt a little bit more comfortable in Medellin. Language barrier. Now, before arriving to Medellin, I thought that I would actually, they might actually have pretty good English skills, but I actually found English proficiency to be surprisingly low in Colombia. And I falsely assumed that because I took Spanish in high school and a little bit in college that, oh, I'll be a quick study with my Spanish, like, you know, hola, ¿cómo estás, right? But boy, was I wrong. Now the same story in Rio, except you're dealing with Portuguese, not Spanish. And you definitely can survive in either country, but you're definitely gonna be using your translator apps if you can't speak their local language. So in Medellin, I had enough time there, so I took this on full on by enrolling in a Spanish school called Baselang. It's based in Laureles. Highly recommend that school, and that was one of the best decisions I made because they fast-tracked me to conversational Spanish level. So I really did get to the point within a month or two of being able to have a 1-hour conversation in Spanish. And when you do that, your dating is actually going to do a lot better too, because let's be honest, a lot of the women aren't actually going to want to spend any time with you or date you if you can't communicate with them. Nightlife. You know, I'm not a big nightlife guy, so I won't pretend to be. Drop a comment if you have any opinions or insights on this, but in Medellin, there's a street called Calle 70. It's a street, probably the best example of like real Colombian partying, but I always felt like it's very kind of cliquey, kind of like a locals only type thing. And what I mean is you'll see groups of Colombians, like 20 to 30 people deep in private groups, and they kind of do that for safety. But you're not going to randomly crash those circles. I don't think you would want to. It's probably not even actually that safe to do that. And I made the mistake of booking an Airbnb right there on Calle 70, which was, you know, great for getting over to the soccer stadium. I mean, there's lots of people exercising, a lot of things to kind of do in that area during the day. But at night, man, they party hard and they party loud and they party until about 4 a.m. in the morning. So it was really hard to sleep when I was staying on that street. In Rio, from what I saw and from talking to other travelers that I met, is that Brazilians are generally a little bit more open, a little bit more friendly in public, talking to strangers, and especially during the day at the beaches or some of the festivals. And I did start some conversations there. I know it's a very small sample size, but just it seemed like they were a little bit less cliquey than in Medellin, Colombia. So the verdict here, well, why don't you guys go ahead and drop a comment. Nightlife is definitely not my thing. Food. Now what I'm going to say is going to be quite controversial, I think, to you guys, but I think that Colombian food is pretty good, despite what everybody seems to complain about. Now, you do need some salt, some pepper, and some hot sauce, and then that's how it gets pretty good. But I find it to be basic, it's pretty hearty, and it's filling. I mean, I really like that bandeja paisa, I think they call it, empanadas. I'm not a fan of arepas, not a fan of plantains, but usually the plates come with like a grilled meat, beans, rice, a salad, and a soup, and a fruit smoothie to wash it down. It's pretty simple and satisfying. Now, Brazil's food scene is a little richer and a little bit more diverse, but still similar food groups. I found Brazilian meat to be a little bit better too. They're known, Brazilian steakhouses, right? But you got your grilled meats, tropical fruits, a little bit more flavorful, a little bit more creative. And they love these kind of buffet style restaurants called quilos. And, just like Medellin, you can get pretty good foreign food there. I got a great Italian restaurant right there in Copacabana area. But the verdict here is I would say neither country is going to top Thailand or Italy for food. But I give Brazil the little edge there if you're a big foodie. And last but not least, the dating. I think this is what a lot of guys care about. So we'll cover it.
And let's face it, the reason why there aren't a ton of more guys out here traveling, living, dating internationally is because of the finances. That's why I put together a free guide for you guys. 7 financial paths to traveling the world and living overseas. You can download it for free. Link in the description.
Dating is strong in both cities, but context matters. If you're only there for the short term, you're probably going to be stuck with kind of like transactional situations or transactional solicitations from women. And I found that regardless of the country, the genuine women, the good and quality women, not that the other women are bad women, the good and quality ones, the ones you really kind of want to date, typically expect you to be able to communicate with them in their language, or at least show that you're serious by being around a while, like you're going to stay in that country for a while. And that's why the first question a woman's going to ask you is, how long are you here for? It's because she's categorizing you. And by the way, if a woman doesn't ask you that question, she doesn't care how long you're there for, and I could actually consider that to be a red flag. Now, both Medellin and Rio have some of the most beautiful women in the world. I think Brazilian women tend to have a little bit more of like an African influence in their bloodlines, while Colombian women are more of a total melting pot mix of like, you got white European, indigenous, Spanish blood, and African roots. But the verdict, I give it to Medellin, the slight edge, barely, because I can actually speak decent Spanish now. In Brazil, I really felt the language barrier and a lack of communication more. And I've seen the most beautiful women, hands down, on the planet in Colombia. But understand that Brazil is not far behind, nearly equal. And hey, why not try both cities? Medellin and Rio both have their magic, both have their risk. If you want a more structured and predictable daily life, then Medellin might suit you better. If you want the beauty, chaos, and beaches, world-class beaches, then Rio could be unforgettable. But just remember, no matter where you go, you bring you with you. So make sure you like yourself, like the person you see in the mirror, and also respect the culture. Stay very alert in these countries. Southeast Asia, I found it was a lot safer, and move smart, and you'll have the time of your life.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.